Welcome to Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host today, Matthew Aguilar, because our regular fearless leader is not feeling well today. So I'm going to do my best. Won't be a replacement, but I'm going to do my best to keep the torch lit, as it were. But of course, we have
you didn't even tell anyone what episode it is.
I was getting... Wow. Well, I'm glad the tradition of Jump the Gun Jim is still alive and well. We are on episode 50. I was going to introduce everybody first. But of course, Jim Viscardi is with us, as always. Say hi, Jim.
Hello.
We also have Brandon Davis.
What's going on? Thanks for having me, host of the day, Matthew.
Thank you. And we've got Connor with us because we're going to talk wrestling.
Woohoo!
Or as Kofi says, wrestling.
Was that like a old Mario voice?
No, that would be woohoo. This was just more of me being excited.
Well done.
I love it.
So as Jim alluded to, we are on episode 50. It's a big deal. I can't believe we've actually done 50 episodes of season 2 already. It's kind of nuts. One of these days we'll have to do like this full get all the clips for a best of thing. We need to do that. We need a clip show for Comic Book Nation. But we have lots of topics to get to, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with Disney Plus, Brandon's favorite service that you still watch all the time, is getting Home Alone Reboot. Is anyone, before I get into cast and everything, what does everyone actually think when I say Home Alone Reboot? Are you excited?
Don't care.
Unless it's a Saw parody, I don't care.
Man, Brandon.
To be completely honest, I don't care.
Oh,
I mean, come on. It's just going to feel like what would have been Home Alone 7 that would have direct to DVD sitting in a bin for $4 at Walmart.
And why don't they just rename it and call it what it is, which is bad parenting?
Okay, so that does actually bring up a good point, because this is not a straight up reboot of the original plot. So of course, people know, the original Home Alone had them leaving their child at home twice. And then we don't consider the third and fourth ones, those were directed DVD, and the kid star also.
Didn't 3 go to the theater?
I didn't even know they had 3 or 4.
Oh yeah, no, different kid.
Those are the T3 and beyond of the Home Alone franchise.
Yeah, we don't acknowledge those. But the first two, I thought were great. I still love those movies. So this one actually has, it's a very different take on the plot. So it actually is about two parents that they're at war with this other child because this child steals something from them. It's a very odd premise. Now, it has some great people, though. It has Kenan Thompson, Ali Mackey, Chris Parnell from SNL, Ellie Kemper from Office fame, Rob Delaney from Deadpool. So there's a lot of really great comedic people involved. We'll see what it actually ends up being, because so here's the premise. All right, so let me find it here. Okay, the new Home Alone film will follow a husband and wife who go to war with a young boy, Max, who is stolen from them. Max is an energetic, witty 9-year-old boy with a mischievous side. He feels wise beyond his years and has the personality to easily converse with adults, plus the uncanny ability to relentlessly push their buttons. But then they say he displays a sense of innocence and a kind heart. But he steals stuff from them, so I'm at odds. I don't know, I feel like you rooted for Kevin because he was against straight-up villains. I don't know if you can root for this kid.
This just, like I said, it just feels like something that would have debuted on ABC Family.
And this is basically the plot of Home Alone 3.
We don't acknowledge Home Alone 3. That did not happen, Connor. That was not real.
We rooted for Robin Hood. He was stealing stuff.
Giving it to the poor, though.
This kid's not. Okay, maybe they'll reveal it's an altruistic thing, but it doesn't seem like that.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet.
So let's go ahead, though, and move to something else. Maybe it'll get someone excited, because Home Alone certainly did not. Space Force has reportedly been renewed for a season 2. Now,
that's great news.
Is that great news? Okay, yay! We got it.
Did you really like that first season?
I haven't finished it, but I'm watching it, and I think it's very entertaining.
Huh.
I think especially like literally the end of the first episode, or it might be the second episode, when he's trying to get like the monkey in space to try to fix the ship. I thought that was hilarious. And I think it's pretty funny. I mean, I'm only like halfway through, I think, maybe a little bit less, because I'm watching The Office for the first time. So that is what made me watch Space Force for the first time, because Steve Carell. And so I thought it was good.
Brandon.
Listen,
I only keep watching Space Force, or I only kept watching Space Force for John Malkovich's character, who is
great.
just absolutely perfect. He's perfect in that show.
Yes.
But other than that, like I was hoping for more. It's just so weird because this is a Greg Daniels show, right? He did this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like for him to have his pedigree and then put out Upload, which I loved, and then have this come out, and I'm like, whoa.
I agree. I watched Upload first, and that's I think why Space Force took longer to click with me, because Upload was so good right off the bat. I do find it odd because like Kofi wrote the article on this, and it brings up a good point. Like typically Netflix shows kind of gauge their renewals on like social media buzz and popularity, and we've seen that with a lot of shows. And like this one kind of came and went. Like no one's still talking about Space Force, so it seems odd that like it got a renewal, and it feels like an enthusiastic renewal when
I mean, apparently a ton of people watched it. Like,
right off the bat.
A lot of people watched, but I can't tell if that's just because people were bored and stuck home in quarantine.
Yeah, and that's my question about everything right now. Like even The Old Guard, which I thought was a pretty good movie. I liked The Old Guard. Matt, did you watch The Old Guard yet?
I have not yet.
I thought you were going to watch.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but the question is, would The Old Guard and Space Force and all these other Netflix titles be getting this popular conversation and buzz and a number of people watching? Because we at this point would normally on the podcast be talking about Black Widow releasing on Blu-ray and Wonder Woman for the fourth week in a row, and Morbius coming out next week and everything else. So I'm like, would as many people be watching it? I don't think so, but maybe I don't know.
I think Old Guard would, because Old Guard's got that. It's a bit of it's a great action movie. Like it's got a ton of great action in it. And I think there was something that was put out today that even said like that Extraction was the #1 Netflix original movie. Like that's the most people watched, which I was baffled by. But I think those numbers are probably skewed because more people were at home or was like, well, there's a new movie on.
How did a movie like Six Underground do back before all of this? Genuine question. I don't know.
Well, right. I mean, that's it. Because it was like the last movie they touted was the Bright, right? Like they were like, oh man,
but
Bright
and Six Underground both weren't very good.
Kofi's ears are burning right now because he loves Bright. He loves that movie so much.
I actually didn't mind Bright, and I'm kind of excited for the sequel. But I'm shocked that like it did the numbers that it did. But I want to know what those numbers are compared to like Extraction, and if those are really just because people are stuck at home and have nothing better.
And of course, Netflix doesn't release those numbers, so we just have to keep wondering.
Yes,
they rarely do.
How does Netflix make any money?
We don't know.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to figure that out myself, especially with all these bankroll shows. I mean, it must be.
They spend so much money,
and the movies and the cast and everything keep going upwards. So that got us excited. See, we could do it. It was nice. So one that I'm actually, I don't know why I'm excited for this, but I kind of am. So Just Cause, which is a hit video game series,
like one of my favorite video game series.
So fun. It's ridiculous fun. Now, at first, when this got announced as a movie, I was like, really? Like, that's I don't know how you turned this into a movie, but I am getting a little excited because Michael Dose is going to be the director. He did Stuber, and he joins Derek Kolstad as the writer of the film. So, I mean, you put like Stuber, and he also did Coffee and Kareem, and then you put that with the writer of the John Wick series. That's a pretty interesting mix. And I mean, has everyone here played Just Cause or at least know of it?
Based on everything I know about Just Cause and I've seen from everybody who plays it, it's my second favorite video game that I've never played.
It's the premise of the video game is basically create as much chaos and destruction in Italy as much as you can.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's super fun. The only game that I would think I need to play before that is Uncharted because I haven't played that.
Oh my god, dude! Yes,
those two are both like top of my list to get into, and they're both getting movies made, so I'm gonna have to play them.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. The reason I love Just Cause too is because They have the guy who voiced Enzio from Assassin's Creed is the voice of the main character in this game.
Is the voice of Rico
and
Rodriguez.
he is he's my favorite. So he
no,
makes it for me.
I mean, here's the thing: if I don't get a sequence where Rico is whoever they get to play Rico is grappling to like an airplane and then grapples like a rocket from midair and then brings those two together with a car hanging off the side. Like that's the level of ridiculousness that the game does, and it's awesome. So I'm pretty
sure Vin Diesel's doing that in the next Fast and Furious movie. But
that's true. That's very true.
But no, that sounds. I mean, you need to go crazy with this one. From what I've seen from this game, it needs to be wild.
Yeah, definitely agree. So moving on to other developments. Now, this one is kind of different. Now, I don't know. Does anyone follow the Usagi Yojimbo comics here at all? Stan Sakai fans? Okay.
Yeah.
So the new animated series, Netflix again, spending that money. Netflix is spending money for a new animated series. Now, this one is set in the future, and I know I'm gonna butcher this name. So it's Rabbit Samurai Yuki, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say that's right. The Usagi Chronicles. This is gonna follow Usagi's descendant, like way in the future, but it's still gonna have kind of the Japanese themes, but then mix all that samurai combat with like high tech and kind of neon city life. Sounds really cool. I know there's gonna be a lot of people though that are very like traditionalists, and like if you've read the current comics, like they're just really fun and lighthearted in a lot of ways, but will kind of go dark when they need to. But it's just like a really fun adventure. So this seems in that vein. Is everyone excited?
I'm so torn because I mean the series is great. I mean it's been going on for a really long time, and for me I think I saw it more as an opportunity. If they were going to adapt some stuff to kind of get my kid into it, because she can't read yet. But same time, like knowing that Stan Sakai is going to be involved, and
and James Wan.
Yeah, and James Wan. I mean, which is weird, but okay.
Yeah, that is an odd. I mean, it's an odd pick, but
the time frame of it, I mean, feels radically different from some of the stuff we've seen in this series, and so I'll be very curious to see how that meshes.
Connor, Brandon, any thoughts?
I'm not super familiar with it, so I just trust your opinions.
So let me see if I understand this, Matt. We're getting this show, but Dragon Ball Super has been off the air for about 2 years now, and we still can't get that back?
Hey man, Netflix doesn't fund that.
No justice in this world.
Get Netflix to fund it. It seems like they have the money to do this. Okay, so
this is why you and Jim need to have your own comics podcast.
I support this.
I'm gonna keep shouting it from the rooftops.
It's just gonna be like if we did that, it's gonna be like one whole panel dedicated to Sentry and Cardiac. It's just all.
No. Moon Knight is gonna come in there every once.
Moon Knight as well, yes, and Captain Marvel. That's all we're gonna talk about.
And I'll listen. I will never miss an episode.
Right there, folks.
Like educational between you two because people who like comics will still people who are hardcore. Anyway, I feel like I learn something every time I listen to you guys talk comics.
Brandon, it's so complimentary today. So nice. Thank you, Brandon. That's so cool. So, okay, I feel like right now Charlie's ears are gonna burn because we're about to talk New Mutants. So you would have thought, by the way, just with the reaction to this, like just taking you behind the scenes a little bit, the reaction to this was like, oh my God, you would have thought it dropped on video like today, but from like all the uproar. But it was actually a panel that was announced for Comic-Con at Home. I feel like this is the reason people are excited for this is because I feel like if they're going to make an announcement about when this is coming, this panel's going to be it. Like, they're going to get the whole cast together. I'm sure they're going to talk about the movie and like, oh, this was fun and this was it. But everyone's just watching to know when and where they can see this, right?
There's no way this panel doesn't end with them saying, y'all want to see New Mutants? Well, it's available right now. Go watch it.
It has to be. But here's why I think it's a bigger deal than maybe it should be, right? It's because this is legitimately the first time since everything has shut down that we have gotten something from Disney publicity that was not, a Disney Plus thing, right? Or that like it wasn't like Hamilton, something like Hamilton or Artemis Fowl or whatever. Like this is legitimately, I think, Hamilton was big in its own right, but for us, like this is the first time that they've, even uttered the word Marvel throughout this entire thing. And of course, it's the Fox project that, everyone never thought was going to see the light of day. And it may still not. It may just be, it's going to be a panel. And
no. Just you have to put this movie out of its misery. This thing is suffering. Put it down. Like, let us.
They will have a riot if they don't have at least a date, even if they don't put where. Like, I feel like they will just have so many people so mad, and that only negatively affects it.
It's going to be a new date, and then there's going to be another graphic floating around the internet that lists every single date that New Mutants has had. I think we're on 6 now.
That thing had more dates than Phase 3 of the MCU.
Connor has a theory.
I have a theory. They're going to come out to this panel and go, okay, look, guys, we made it up. We made this whole movie up. We just wanted to get people's attention, maybe like do the way Deadpool kind of...
And then boom, Eternals trailer.
Exactly. All that screening stuff was fake. Sorry, this isn't real.
Can you imagine the bait and switch? If they show an Eternals trailer,
those poor cast
forget about it.
After Game of Thrones, Macy Williams has been through enough.
Paid her for 3 years to say that she filmed a movie that doesn't exist.
Oh man!
When she filmed this, I'm pretty sure Ned Stark was still alive.
Yeah.
Nice.
There is no way that this cat, like, because Junket Time's going to be coming around soon or whatever. There is no way that this cast remembers anything about filming that movie.
Right? Okay, so now that we've
what was it like filming the movie?
Anya Taylor-Joy is probably going to be like, well, I filmed a scene and then I went and got my driver's license.
Okay, so this panel hits on July 23rd. All right, so betting time. What do they reveal? When does it come out on a digital service or a theater?
I think it's available at the end of the panel.
Yeah, I'm with Brandon on that one. Available at the end of the panel. I would be more surprised if that wasn't it.
And the reason I say that is because I think all of the studios are skipping Comic-Con because you can't say anything right now because you're not sure about anything. Yeah. If they're going to say something about this movie and go hard and they have to spend the way these things work is these actors have in their contracts, they have to do a certain number of appearances and they're getting paid for those appearances. And there's only so much budget to pay these people and only so many appearances they are legally obligated to make. They're not going to go spending one of those appearances and that budget to get this stuff done to promote it for a time when they might not be coming to theaters. And we don't know if that current late August date is still going to be possible. I'm starting to think Black Widow in November is not going to happen. So I really think they are sure when we're going to see this movie, and the only way to be sure is if they're dropping it digitally.
Well, I was saying that the other thing, too, there was a stock analyst just today saying that he doesn't think movie theaters are going to get back up and running until the mid of 2021.
Oof. Wow. Well,
which is insane.
Thank you for bringing the show down there.
Yeah,
that's sad that it is.
Cry.
That's sad that it is.
Sob in the corner.
Brandon won't know what to do with himself.
I'm already losing my mind.
We'll do quarantine watch parties of The Office, though. We'll get you caught up before January when The Office leaves Netflix. There you go. That's what we can do.
I better race and finish.
So to bring us back up a little bit from Jim's very dour note, we're going to talk about a really cool thing from Chris Evans, Captain America himself, who I feel like is just Captain America these days. Like there's no separation between the two. He just is. So a young boy named Bridger Walker saved his sister from an attacking dog. And it hit social media and kind of became viral because he experienced a lot of injuries, ended up having to have surgery. But since then, there have been a lot of people that have reached out and shared just really cool videos and to him. But there's one video where the mom has him and he's in like a Captain America suit, little costume. And Chris Evans like talks to him in just like the most Chris Evans Captain America way. You feel like it's just Captain America talking to a kid. And it's just like really heartfelt, really sweet. And if you haven't watched that, I would say take 5 minutes, watch that. It'll make you smile and it'll make your day better. Does anyone have anything to add?
So this should put Chris Evans at the top of everybody's Chris's rankings. I don't understand why Hemsworth goes first. He is literally Steve Rogers.
Wait a minute. Does Hemsworth go first on the Chris list?
A lot of people put him at top because he's the cute one. But it's got to be Evans.
Well, wait. Okay. So real quick poll. Who's your top Chris?
It's usually Chris Pine, followed by Chris Evans.
Brandon?
Chris Pratt.
Oh, Chris Pratt.
Really?
Yeah.
Pratt's my number 2.
I think
That's fair.
Pratt and Evans are up there, then Hemsworth just below, and then Chris Pine is, sorry, Chris Pine.
Connor?
R.I.P. Steve Trevor, you're not coming back.
It goes Evans, Pratt, Hemsworth, Pine.
Oh,
And I'm sticking to that.
I go Evans, Pine. I love Chris Pine. And then I go Pratt, and then I go Hemsworth. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
but even this, I think, we'd be remiss to say, Brandon had a pretty big role in making this video actually happen.
So tell us about that, Brandon.
This was really cool. I saw, I don't know, this guy is a pastor in Nashville or something. He's the one. I saw a tweet from him about Bridger, and I immediately responded. It was like, does he have a favorite superhero? Is there anything we can do to raise this kid's spirits? So I thought the kid was local here in Nashville, and then the Twitter army started letting me know how to access the family and everything. So it was right as I was getting ready to finish up work for the day on Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday. And I had been sending emails all day trying to set up stuff for our Comic-Con show. And so I've been reaching out to publicists all day and stuff. So I already had all the contact lists open. So I was like, you know what? They tagged Tom Holland, Chris Evans, Downey, all the Avengers, Chadwick, and all these people in their Instagram posts because they wanted to get the attention of the Avengers to try to make Bridger happy. So I emailed everybody, the reps who I've dealt with in the past who rep all of the people that they tagged. And the next morning I got the video from Evans, and I called Bridger's mom, and I was like, listen, I have this video, and you can do with it what you want. You can keep this to yourself, and you can or you can share it, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Chris didn't do this for Chris. Chris did this for Bridger. Whatever makes you guys the happiest is what you should do. And if you post it, I am definitely going to share it. But a lot of people are going to watch it, so be ready. And they were like, no, we want everybody to see this. This is the best thing ever. And I've had a lot of other people call too today and yesterday, ever since that went up, who are also looking to do something for Bridger. He has some more surprises coming his way. He got to Zoom call with Tom Holland, which was really cool. So, the kid saved his sister's life. That's unreal.
Yeah.
And he knew, did you read the quote from this kid?
Yeah.
He said, I thought my sister was going to die, so I thought I should instead, or something like that. It was something along those lines.
It's nuts that
what a kid,
this kid has that kind of bravery. Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and it's so awesome to see all these people just this outpouring of affection towards him. Yeah,
and he deserves it. I love what we do here. So to be able to take the contacts we build here working at Comic Book and actually do something I'm not saying what we do isn't important, but to do something that impacts somebody like this and spreads inspiration and positivity, I was like, this is the best thing we could possibly do. And I'm happy it worked out.
No, that's awesome. Well, let's go from that. We're going to get into some DC stuff coming up here, but let's take a quick break and pay some bills. Catch you on the flip side. All right. So going from that really heartwarming story to just some general news. There was a lot of DC comic stuff, and we'll just run through some of this kind of quickly. One that broke literally, half an hour ago? Something like that. The fabled Black Adam movie that it also feels like has just been in development limbo for so long has its Atom Smasher. It looks like Noah Centineo, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, will be playing Atom Smasher in the movie. We don't really have much context as to what the character's role in the film will be, or how big a role it is, or anything like that. But I saw a little bit going around of how having that kind of a star play a lesser hero is a little disappointing to some. How do we feel about it?
I guess he's big with the Netflix crowd, but I have no idea.
Dude's gonna be He-Man if that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, He-Man. Great. Another project that will never see the light of day. So,
he's
I don't know. It's
to
weird.
the It crowd.
It's interesting because I never want to like count someone out for it's like, oh, does he have the physique for it? But like Atom Smasher is a pretty big dude. And so I imagine, he'll end up training with The Rock and, look like a beast by the end of it. But no, I mean, it's just the era that it seems like this movie is going to play with like the Justice Society and all that. It's rumored that Hawkman and Hawkgirl are in it. And so, it'll be interesting to see how Atom Smasher plays in, because he is definitely one of the weirder characters of the DC universe that you could have probably brought into this one. And I know weird is relative in this superhero
especially
world.
When you have like Our Man standing right next to
right
next to,
but like this is also a movie that's supposed to have Dr. Fate in it somehow.
It's like the redo of Scorpion King.
Yeah. So I mean it's interesting. I think a lot of people are just kind of like meh.
Can we say the JSA is the most interesting part of this movie for me so far? Like I've just never been the biggest Black Adam guy. I've honestly never been the biggest Shazam guy either, just in the comics.
There have been a number of Shazam miniseries over the year that have been fantastic. I was a big Black Adam fan for a while.
I think the biggest thing people are going to be looking at is how does this connect to Shazam, and do we see Zachary Levi in any capacity? I think that's what people are looking for.
Yeah, I think if we do, it's going to be the smallest little tease of a future, like maybe a post-credit scene or something because we already got the Black Adam tease in Shazam with the basically that history lesson, like the holographic history lesson. You see like a profile kind of Shazam emerge. So I think this will be set pretty far in the past for the most part, I think, and then maybe we'll see like why he's going to be on a crash course with Shazam teased. I think that's my guess. That's what I'm more looking forward to more than anything, because like Matt, I mean, I think Black Adam is very cool, and you all know I'm a huge Rock fan. That's no secret. But more than anything, I'm more interested in seeing him come face to face with Shazam and maybe some others somewhere else down the line.
We see Superman from the neck down again. I'll be hyped.
Such a missed opportunity. So moving from movie news to comic news, DC, I felt like just split the internet open when they announced that there would be a new Watchmen spinoff series. It's called Rorschach, and it's going to be they're saying it's a sequel, but in a different way, right? So it's years and years like after the events of the original novel. This follows supposedly like a new Rorschach. And it's Tom King writing it. Me and Kofi have been very, very clear, like we're Tom King fans. But Watchmen is always a touchy subject when it comes to comics because of all the stuff with the creators, and there's a lot of complicated history there. So anytime it's announced, it doesn't matter what the series is, you're going to kind of have two camps. How does everyone feel about this new series?
I'm so done with the world of Watchmen that isn't the HBO series.
But you felt that way before the HBO series, right? And then it won you over.
Yeah. Well, yes, I did.
I remember we talked about that, and you were like, this isn't that. And I'm so I'm a bit tired of the character of Rorschach, and I get it, and whatever. It just feels unnecessary. I don't know, and there was never anything that's attracted to me about that character, and so I really don't know what else you do.
See, Matt, if we were in the studio, I'd be doing that camera 2 on me bit right now, because I'm not happy about this. Guys, we got lucky with the HBO series. We got very lucky. But no one liked Before Watchmen, and nobody liked Doomsday Clock. What the hell makes you think this is going to work?
Doomsday Clock, that was a...
I think it's
when was the last time someone brought that
up? There are days I forget it finished. Yeah, no, definitely. Oh my God, Before Watchmen, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I love Tom King too. This isn't going to work. Sorry.
Yeah. It's this one, because I agree with Jim that the Watchmen series had my interest because it was playing in the world, but it wasn't like a direct sequel. It was taking a bunch of ties and kind of reworking it into something different. This is literally like we're picking up threads. Now it's like 35 years. It's 35 years after the events of the original Watchmen. So it's not like it's the day after, but like Rorschach's journal made it to the press. Like all that stuff happened. And this like new Rorschach, it's kind of like going with this mystery thing of they're going to be uncovering all these things along the way and finding the trail and all that. So the only reason I care about this, because I'm actually not I love Watchmen, like the original graphic novel Watchmen. I love it. It's not like my all-time favorite book. It's not this like sacred cow that a lot of people put it up there as for me. It's just not. So I'm only interested because it's King. I'm curious whether I stick with it after the first issue comes out. We'll see, but it is worth talking about. So just a real quick thing also. So Free Comic Book Day, the first Free Comic Book Day book started rolling out. And a favorite writer of the podcast, I know, Tom Taylor's new series for Marvel was just like stealth dropped in there. Just like the last like 4 pages of that book of X-Men were this new Tom Taylor series, which kind of feels like his Marvel equivalent to Deceased, not in the zombie thing. Of course, it's a completely different premise.
Wasn't that Contagion? Like, wasn't that Contagion series?
Right? Yeah, like it was essentially. So this is called Dark Ages, and if you read the preview, we are going to get into spoilers. I mean, it's it's out and you can read it. It's also free, so and no one even had to buy it. But the last couple of pages show like Iron Man and like the city experiences a full-on blackout, but not like just lights. It seems like all electrical current is just gone, and of course that results in some a pretty brutal thing for Iron Man specifically. But we're gonna get that kind of thing, and like Deceased has kind of taken that, run with it in the DC universe, and I got those vibes from this. That's not a bad thing. I love Deceased. I know Connor loves Deceased, so that is not a negative in any way. But I mean, did everyone read it? Did everyone get a chance to look at it? What'd you think?
I'm always excited for new Tom Taylor stuff. He's just great. For whatever reason, I have liked I have liked Tom's work on main continuity Marvel books more than I have on the outside Marvel continuity books, and I have liked his out of continuity DC work better than anything he's done, than he's done there. And so it's really, really weird for me.
I agree with that, though.
I don't. This is very much judging a book by its cover kind of thing. I don't really dig the name, and that kind of worries me a little bit. But we'll see. I'm really curious to see what like the threat is, and I think that'll really be like the hook for me.
I agree. Like right now, I just going off the premise of, hey, there's a corrupted anti-life equation versus, hey, all the electricity's gone. Like that, they're not like I'm not as excited for one clearly as I am the other. But again, it's Taylor. I assume it'll be a multi-layered thing, and it will turn out to be kind of something different. So that
will be
is
hilarious.
Interesting.
Yeah, make right. You cry at the end. That's how it goes.
And Marvel does have a lot of like technologically powered heroes. Like they use armor.
If the villain is Ultron, then I'm out.
Yeah, I'm kind of over. I feel like Ultron is like Joker for me. Like I'm kind of over that character. I need a break for a while. But yeah, so
at least Marvel's not giving you 3 different versions of Ultron and saying which one's the real one.
Oh God, that book's still out there too. Oh geez. So all right, so let's go ahead and close it out here. This is a quick mention, but I've gone on and on here about the Batman White Knight universe. Because it is such a fun, like, alternate take on Batman and Joker and Harley. Harley Quinn is getting her own spin-off series set in that same universe. And for those who don't know, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but essentially, like, the story here with Harley, it has enough differences, and it's been really cool to see that character. Like, that character is a single mother, has 2 children, and now she's going to be going into, like, back to help with this like case, and it's going to tie into stuff she did with like the Joker when she was a villain, because she hasn't been a villain for a while. That stuff is really interesting to me, so that's going to be a maxi series coming to DC Black Label. So you can check out Comicbook.com for a full preview of that. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then let's move into the deep dive section, which has some spicy comments from Rob Liefeld and WWE, man. So stick around. All right. So this is, I threw in a grenade, did Kofi proud. I tried to anyway. We'll see, because half the time the grenades in the show don't ever end up being grenades, and the things that are like the most tepid of topics end up causing
you can't plan the grenades.
I've tried my best to live up to the rep. So let's go ahead here. Rob Liefeld had some interesting comments about Deadpool 3. I'm not sure that everyone is going to agree. So here's what he said. He said, you know what? There may not be another Deadpool, and I'm fine, because I have to live with the fact that I had 2 amazing experiences, 2 movies I'm extremely proud of. I love knowing everybody on those movies. I love Ryan Reynolds, Josh Brolin, Zazie Beetz, David Leitch, Tim Miller. He explained all of them. The work they did was fantabulous. Great word. Those movies are here to stand the test of time, but in the world we live in, nothing is guaranteed, and it takes a lot to make movies, and post-quarantine, it's weird. He elaborated in a different interview. We actually got to talk to him for Talking Shop. And he said, as far as like why there's no Deadpool 3, he said, I blame Marvel that hasn't happened yet. They are the reason it isn't happening. Whatever conundrum or it didn't fit into their master plan, just commission it. Okay, commission it. If Frank Frazetta was still around, you would say, Frank, paint for me. So what do we think about the whole thing of being okay if would you be okay if a Deadpool 3 doesn't happen, an X-Force movie doesn't happen, and Marvel just moves on from that?
I mean, I'd be okay, I guess.
I've always been of the opinion that Deadpool is basically Disney's break glass in case of emergency kind of thing, where they don't need Deadpool right now. Would everyone like Deadpool? Yeah, absolutely. But I think, but unless like Disney, and we may be getting real close to it, right? Like just with the way, things are going, they're going to need something that is going to be a bona fide, certified hit, something that they know that that is a check they will be able to cash. And Deadpool is that. And it's different enough the character is different and fluid enough in a way that they can drop him in whenever, wherever. And I think that's really, more the reason why Disney hasn't pulled the trigger on Deadpool is because they don't need to right now. I think they need to get Black Widow out because that movie is important to the future of the MCU. And so once we finally figure out where that is and how Eternals falls.
Well, they also filmed Black Widow already.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, those movies are done, right? But that's the thing. It's like, they're so what? The only movie that Marvel's got in production right now is Shang-Chi, right? That they're actively filming.
And so, the Disney Plus series, are they?
Yeah, well, and they've got the Disney Plus series, but I think like after that, like whatever plan they had last year or even earlier this year or maybe even last month, they may be able to crumple up and throw out the window after Shang-Chi is done and say, okay, we need to rewrite and fix all this stuff. And maybe that's where Deadpool fits in. But
they still have to make Blade. That you can't get rid of that.
That's right. Blade's coming.
You got to make Blade.
So sad if they don't make Blade.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, they would make Blade.
I think Blade appears somewhere else before Blade.
Oh, he's got
You could put Blade in Deadpool. They both have swords.
You could put Blade in Morbius.
Oh, please.
Oh, you
Why
could.
would you do that?
Oh, you could. Right, but, and then there's the whole like Sony side of all all this other stuff too, right? I don't
agree with pretty much anything Rob Liefeld has said about Deadpool, but I like Rob Liefeld, so I don't want to I like him as a person.
No, I think Rob's got some valid points. I'm not saying that because, like I said, Rob's a friend of the site and whatever, but I think the biggest thing that is going to hold all of this up, I believe, is just Disney needs to be in a bit of a dire straight position for them to say, okay, let's do it. I mean, because they could. I mean, Disney could do a number of things, right? Like they could launch the X-Men or do another Avengers movie or pay Robert Downey Jr. a bunch of money to show up as Iron Man somewhere. But even just from what?
I don't think I think there is far more interest in another Deadpool than there is in another Iron Man.
You think so?
Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Iron Man. I'm the biggest Iron Man fan on this call, no question. But I think that there is far more interest in another Deadpool.
Well, but that's
will
what I
agree with
mean,
that
though.
statement.
That's why I think Deadpool is the emergency.
I agree with Brandon's statement on being more excited for a Deadpool movie than I am an Iron Man movie. I'm not the biggest Iron Man person, but like I agree with that. Both are though below me getting an X-Force movie. That was the one I was looking forward to. I didn't care about another Deadpool movie. I was fine with not. I'm be perfectly fine with just these two. They're great. I enjoyed them. I was looking forward to the whole reason we got Cable and Domino into the mix was so that we could get X-Force and bring some of those characters in and like do a really cool R-rated X-Force. And now I'm probably never going to get that. And that bums me out more than any Deadpool.
I think the issue is the canon of it all and the Kevin Feige of it all. Feige is the puppet master behind all of it. He has complete control over all of it. If you inherit a cast, let alone a story that comes with the characters they've already played, that makes it tricky. So I think there's a lot to figure out, and they're going to evaluate based on reactions, because I think what Marvel does well is look at what works and what doesn't work and do more of what works and do less of what doesn't based on audience reactions, so that their plans are always fluid. So you're going to see in WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2 and maybe some multiverse stuff where you have the opportunity to keep that X-Force or not and move forward with that. I want to see X-Force one way or another. I liked Josh Brolin as Cable. I loved Zazie Beetz as Domino. I don't really care if it's recast. Like, I would love to see them, but at the same time, I trust in Kevin Feige to make a good X-Force movie if he builds to it his own way. I know the MCU of it all would make it very MCU of it all. So I think what the gritty, raw approach that we got in Deadpool 2 would be more enticing than stuff we've seen from the MCU so far. But I think the MCU is going to have to be forced to evolve and embrace that sort of stuff if it wants to continue being the juggernaut that it is. So I am okay with either scenario, but I don't think Disney is just dismissing Deadpool at all. I think there is no chance that Disney is looking at Deadpool and saying, we don't, we own them. Cool. Put them on a shelf. I don't think that's true.
Well, they have to know that integrating Deadpool with the MCU is $1 billion idea, and they're not going to walk away from that money.
Absolutely. And I also think, to all the people who argue Deadpool has to be rated R, they've already said they're going to keep Deadpool R, but they've also, you look at comics, and Deadpool works in family-friendly comics and kid-friendly comics just fine. You can find a filmmaker who's more clever than me, who gets paid millions of dollars to come up with these ideas because they're better at coming up with those ideas than I am, finds a way to make it clever, to limit Deadpool to a PG-13 rating just for that movie. You can still have your R-rated Deadpool 3 or Deadpool 2.5 for the MCU, whatever you want to call it, with Ryan Reynolds, and you can put him in the next Spider-Man movie or somewhere where he can interact with whoever on a PG-13 basis and make a mockery of it all, if only for a couple of scenes. It has to be a movie that the tone fits, because it could also instantly remove you from the tone of the film if Deadpool makes a joke of Peter Parker getting hunted by Kraven or whatever it is. But I think you can make Deadpool work in a PG-13 setting, not permanently, but on a. Yeah,
I would say as a guest star, yes. I think as a like if it was a solo film, I think we have gotten so, especially with the success of franchises like John Wick, and even with movies like Extraction on Netflix, like those are action heavy movies that Deadpool is the perfect character for, and that's the kind of Deadpool that people want to see, and that's what you saw in Deadpool 2.
Then make a Deadpool 3 and have MCU characters pop in there, and they don't participate in the R-rated stuff, but make Deadpool do it.
You know what that becomes? That becomes DC versus Mortal Kombat. the original version, not like the new ones. Like that becomes that, and that was so bad because you get like it's this weird middle ground and no one comes out looking great. Now, what I agree though is like current Deadpool comics are fun and ridiculous, and they play up the meta stuff with Deadpool, and they're not really that over the top. I disagree. In small doses, like you said, if it's a part of an Avengers style group or a movie where it's dealing with a bunch of people, I think that would be fine. I don't think honestly anyone would care. For a solo, everyone's gotten used to the R-rated stuff. So I would.
But
find
that's
it
not.
hard
But
for them to
that's
go
not how
backwards.
the MCU. But that's not how the MCU works.
Okay,
The
we don't
MCU
know how the
works.
MCU works with the Fox stuff because no one's seen.
Well,
that
I mean,
yet.
but that's the biggest problem that they've got.
I know.
think
So
the
I'm saying, but we don't know how that works. So
Yeah,
it will
and
be
the
interesting
MCU
to
has
see that.
surprised so many people. Do you think that if I told you a Disney movie was going to tackle issues of race the way Black Panther does, like that went way deeper than you would expect from a Disney film. It was pretty forward about a lot of heavy topics.
Yeah.
They're not, and they keep just pushing it a little further each time. And Guardians of the Galaxy has some pretty raunchy quips in there. I mean, they keep it family friendly. You have little jokes like Drax saying I have tremendous turds, but then you also have I don't know, Rocket talking about whatever, like quips about like their sexual innuendos, and literally in the first few minutes of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Peter Quill said, if you took a black light to this place, it would look like a Jackson Pollock painting.
Yep.
You know what that means. The kids don't know what that means. So there are ways to make these things work.
So moving from that wonderful metaphor, we're going to move into wrestling.
Close
out our whole segment because it fits perfectly.
Why was that the transition?
Because I had to find one. That's why. I had to find one. That's why it was the transition. So we're going to move into wrestling to close out the show because honestly, we could sit here for like another hour and debate this because it worked out. It was a grenade.
It was like a gentle grenade. We're all still friends.
It was a grenade. Yeah,
I'm not going to talk to Jim until Monday, but whatever.
It's perfect. So Connor, let's close out the show and talk some wrestling. So what is on tap for this weekend?
So this Sunday, we've got a show called The Horror Show at Extreme Rules. Yes, you heard that right. That's what we're doing. 6 matches, pretty short card, some weird stuff on this show. We've got I mentioned this last time I was on, an eye for an eye match. Either Seth or Rey Mysterio is going to lose an eye, and that's how they're going to end this match. I don't know.
Okay, no, but wait, but did I miss it? Did you mention what the tagline of Extreme Rules is?
The Horror Show.
Yeah, the horror show.
Yes, the Horror Show. And I think that they're calling it that.
What is that?
Because of the Wyatt Swamp Fight cinematic match thing, they wanted to feel like that.
I can't tell if that is a worse, like Extreme Rules, horror night or whatever is worse. It is almost worse than Great Balls of Fire as a pay-per-view now.
At least that
one
one's
with
funny.
the boot that I really liked.
Stomping ground. It was a boot match. It was just
killer
the
logo.
boots, and you
Killer
loved
logo.
it.
Awesome logo. Anyway, go ahead. Continue.
I'm still not okay about that one. You've got a Wyatt Swamp Fight with Bray and Braun. It's very quietly not been a title match, and no one seems to acknowledge that part. So I think this is where Bray wins because he's bringing back the creepy cult guy. And then you got a world title match with Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. Nobody cares about. Drew's going to win. Moving on. Wow. I'm sorry. It's an anime filler arc. It has no bearing on anything.
You don't think Ziggler wins?
No. Of course he doesn't, because he's Dolph Ziggler and it's the year 2020.
Wow.
Look, I used to get a ton of crap from Matt in particular, maybe a year ago when we started this podcast and we started talking about Dolph Ziggler. And I said, the minute Dolph Ziggler got a comedy act, he was done as a wrestler, and he's still done. He's still done.
A name like Dolph
When did I give you grief on that? I don't remember this.
Yeah.
I just remember us giving Matt grief about Finn Balor, and it took him.
Once you get a comedy gimmick, once you get like a weird comedy gimmick in the WWE, that's it. It's over.
I mean,
now here's the thing.
Hates you.
Well, tell that to Otis. I mean, he's got a comedy gimmick.
Yeah, and
Otis is he's done. We're not even going to be talking about Otis in a year and a half.
Things about Otis.
A year and a half from now, we're not going to be talking about Otis. I'm sorry. But that's that's the thing.
You laughed at my impression of Otis. That's why it works.
Dolph Ziggler is such a phenomenal worker, and I just don't understand how he cannot just break through and be the star that he
pissed off Vince McMahon somewhere along the way.
I mean, it must have, but it is absolutely absurd. Sorry, go ahead.
Vince just had an idea for him when he first showed up, and it never broke. I mean, even the times he did win the world title, it was like, we're not really pushing him. We're just kind of, this is a placeholder.
He refused to ride a dolphin into the ring.
But I'm going to make the guess now that this is going to be a match of the night and maybe a match of the year contender. It's Asuka versus Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
If you've been watching WWE television at all lately, Banks and Bayley have been absolutely killing it. And Asuka's freaking amazing.
Can we just point out, by the way, so Jim pointed out that I hated on his Ziggler thing over there. I don't remember this, but evidently I hate it. However, I know that there are haters in this room and amongst our staff of Bayley, heel Bayley. And
she got better. That's my argument. I used to not like it, but she got better. And when someone explained to me that she's Angelica,
she only got better because Britt Baker hasn't been around to do it better than Bayley.
Have you been watching Dynamite? She's on every week.
She's gotten better over the last 2 months, especially. But even before that, she was always getting better. She's been good in this role for a minute.
Now, nothing's better than Britt Baker taking the clothesline and sending Shivani messages. Nothing's better than that. But Bayley's been amazing. And someone explained to me as she's Angelica from Rugrats. And that is the perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
That is it.
Fantastic. All right. So,
sorry. Because I want to talk about the Wyatt Swamp fight thing because I don't think Bray wins here. I think they want to put the belt back on Bray. I think Bray loses here, sets up for SummerSlam, and Bray wins the title at SummerSlam.
I just think you could do that just as easily as Bray wins in this version. So then Braun turns around and goes, okay, now we need the rubber match. And Bray says, well, I brought somebody. And then the Fiend pops up. And I think you can just as easily do that. I think that's why it's not for the title this time.
Well, no, but I think if you have Bray lose even here, even if it's something that is, for all intents and purposes on Bray's home turf, you run the risk of making Braun look weak. And
I mean, if they were willing to let John Cena get just jobbed all over the place in their Firefly match, I don't think they're afraid to do that here.
Cena's different than Braun.
Is he?
Cena's Teflon. They can do whatever the heck they want, and he's still gonna have his fans, and he's gonna sell merch. And the dude's hardly even around WWE.
Well, because here's the thing, like Cena and like Cena's wins and him Super Cena or whatever, like that wasn't Cena's, for lack of a better word, gimmick, right? Like Braun's gimmick is being the big strong guy. And so that's why I think they have to be a bit more careful in how they book his wins and losses than say someone like Cena. But a win here makes it, and even if Bray comes back as the Fiend in SummerSlam, it then makes the Fiend look that much stronger if he can put Bray down for the title normally.
I think that's fair. I think it needs to be said that the last time Bray got a cinematic match, we got this David Lynch film basically, and it was amazing. So I'm really excited to see what he does this time because I have zero idea what it's going to look like.
Yeah, but I love that. It's so unpredictable. Also, just real quick, circling back to the Bayley Sasha thing, because that's kind of why it bums me out that like Nikki Cross to me has no shot. But I would love to see Nikki like unleashed.
Everyone loves Nikki.
She's awesome. She's so good. But I just don't see her winning here either because that Sasha Bayley storyline has to play out, and Bayley has to keep the belt until that plays out. They can't keep dragging it out though. Like there needs to be a step forward in this story because it has literally been 2 years since we got that first tease of them breaking.
It's been a very long time.
Yeah, it's been good.
Connor, you've been talking to like everybody from WWE.
I have. I just got off the phone with the Miz before we had this show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Who has been like kind of the most surprised? Like I'm sure you have like a superstar you were most looking forward to talking to out of all of this. Who has been like kind of like you found their conversation to be genuinely the most compelling and interesting throughout?
Well, The Undertaker blew me away by just how open he was on different topics that people have talked about for years about him, but to hear him actually discuss things like Sting. The fact that I got to ask him, like, how do you feel when people speculate over this nonstop? To hear him talk about it very frankly and just be like, look, I know this would work and I know people would love it, but I also know it wouldn't be the match that everybody's hoping for. That kind of insight I really enjoyed.
Wow.
We brought up Bayley, super nice. Like I was blown away by her. Just absolutely delightful to talk to.
That's awesome.
Oh, she didn't do the interview in gimmick.
No, see, I have no patience for that. I have zero patience if you can't break character, and I luckily haven't run into that much outside of like Orange Cassidy and MJF. So, and
I agree.
It makes Edge. What was talking
an
to
interview
Edge
so
like?
much better.
I didn't get Edge. That was Rusty.
Ryan
Ryan
Drosty
got
talked to Edge. I saw the interview. I assumed I just thought it was.
It makes an interview so much better when they're not in character to me. Like it's just it's so.
I interviewed Cody once, and he went during Stardust, and he did the interview in Stardust.
How do you even like talk to Stardust?
You talk to him like he's the Joker, basically. That's because that's what he was doing.
And you can have fun with it. Like I've done it a few times, and it's fine. But I will say I'm very happy that most times when you talk to a superstar, it's out of that, and you can actually converse like a person.
The one exception was Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman did not break character, but I still enjoyed that one because it's like a verbal joust.
That's what I was going to say. Is there's probably a few, especially from like 90s characters, like talking to Steve Austin in character would be really cool. Like right now.
Because that dude is his character.
Yeah, like,
he really is.
You were like, so like, you know, how's like even now if he didn't have a match coming up, you'd just be like, you know, how's retirement? He'd be like, how's retirement, you ask me? Is that what you try to come me, ask me about my retirement? I'll tell you how retirement. Stone Cold Steve Austin chilling on the farm. That's what Stone Cold Steve Austin doing.
Really spot on.
Much.
Yeah, and that's an interview or just him in the ring. It doesn't matter. So is that all to look forward to at Extreme Rules, Connor? Anything before we head out?
I would keep an eye out on this Miz interview I've got coming out. By the time you hear this, it will be out on the website. There's a particular stipulation Miz has set for himself that I think people are going to want to tune into. So keep an eye out on that.
Nice.
We'll say before we do wrap up, it's very important to note, Connor wrote the story up, there are a lot of wrestlers who will be free agents by tomorrow or Saturday.
Yeah.
And
so does that mean AEW is going to come calling?
I think there's another company that might come calling for a lot of these.
There's going to be a lot. If you were, I will just say,
if you want to see, if there were a lot of favorites on that list, I would actually tune in to Slammiversary. Is what I would say.
I just want to see where EC3 goes because EC3 has been killing it with these little vignette things, and I want to see where he goes.
Well, you might want to pay attention.
Yeah. So
it'll be a big weekend for wrestling.
Absolutely. So you can always keep up with our coverage on Comicbook.com, the wrestling page. And you can also find Connor and the whole wrestling team will be typically live tweeting these things as they go. So make sure to tune in over there. If you want to talk about these topics and more, you can always check out Comicbook.com. But you can also tune in to new episodes of Comic Book Nation every Wednesday and Friday. And you can keep up with us by subscribing to the RSS feed. And you can also hit up your favorite podcast players, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher. One of my personal favorites is finding an Alexa device and saying Comic Book Nation, and it will pop up our lovely voices. So definitely check that out. If you want to continue the conversation, you can use the Comic Book Nation hashtag and just talk to us about stories you want to hear us talk about. Just shooting anything, we can always talk. It doesn't matter. Comics, movies, wrestling, obviously. You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
You can find me at Brandon Davis BD.
Find me at Jim Viscardi.
And at Connor Casey _CB.
Boom. If you dig the show, you can always leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I will say I have no clue when we're going to be able to get shirts. So that will happen at some point in time. When we do, if you do leave us a 5-star review, we will definitely have some kind of like special show where we read, like that might just be the whole show. It's just reading reviews. We appreciate all the kind words and support from you guys. And it just makes this one of the best parts of our day. So stay healthy. Have a great day. And thanks for tuning in. Deuces.